The resignation letter was exactly one sentence long. Ambassador Chen Martinez placed it on the crystalline table of the Galactic Council chamber. Her hand steady despite the 8,000 species watching through holographic feeds across 73 galaxies. The Varelian High Chancellor's tentacles quivered as he read the words, his translator struggling to process the simplicity of humanity's statement. Effective immediately, humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council. Good luck, the chamber erupted. The Xinthians screeched through their vocal sacs. The silicon-based chronites vibrated angry frequencies through the floor. Chancellor Vorel's skin flushed the deep purple of diplomatic catastrophe. You cannot simply leave, Vorel sputtered. The bylaws, the treaties, the infrastructure agreements. Article 447, subsection 12, Chen interrupted calmly. Any member species may withdraw with appropriate notice. We're providing notice. We're done. But the wars, the contested territories, the trade routes. The Metherian trade minister's breathing apparatus fogged with panic. Chen smiled, and every species in the chamber who had studied human expressions felt their equivalent of a chill. It wasn't a happy smile. Yes, she said, the wars. Let's talk about those. For 200 years, humanity had served on the Galactic Council. For 200 years, they had been the peacekeepers, the negotiators, the ones who rushed into conflicts while other species debated proper protocol. When the Hexalan swarms invaded the outer reaches, who had held the line for 3 years while the Council discussed sanctions? Humanity. When the crystalline plague threatened to wipe out biological life in the Andromeda sector, who had volunteered their scientists, their ships, their lives? Humanity. And when the Council needed someone to occupy the brutal, thankless death trap of the contested territories between the Kryn Empire and the Varelian Collective, keeping two civilizations from mutual annihilation, humanity had raised their hand. 83,000 dead, Chen said softly. That's how many humans died holding your contested territories. Do you know how the Council repaid us? Silence filled the chamber. You gave the resource rights to the Kryn. You gave the trade routes to the Varelians. You gave the reconstruction contracts to the Xinthians. Her voice remained level, professional. You gave humanity a certificate of appreciation. The Council's decision was based on complex economic factors. Vorel began. We don't care anymore. Chen gathered her things. We're going home, all of us. Every human soldier, every diplomat, every aid worker, every trader. We're withdrawing from every Council-sanctioned operation, every peacekeeping mission, every humanitarian effort. You're abandoning your responsibilities. The Hexalan delegate hissed. No, Chen corrected. We're abandoning yours. The Council didn't believe it at first. Surely the humans were posturing, negotiating for better terms. They'd calm down, come back to the table, accept a slightly better resource split. Then the withdrawals began. The human garrison at the neutral zone, the only thing preventing the Kryn and Varelians from resuming their 1,000-year war, packed up in 48 hours. As the last transport lifted off, both empires stared at each other across the border, suddenly aware of how much they wanted to kill each other and how little was stopping them now. The human medical ships left the plague zones. The human engineers abandoned the collapsed wormhole gate project. The human negotiators walked out of peace talks on 6 different worlds. The human traders, who had served as the neutral middlemen for 1,000 different species commerce, closed their businesses and went home. Within a month, the galaxy began to burn. The Kryn-Varelian War reignited within days. Without human peacekeepers, there was no buffer, no voice of reason, no one willing to die to keep both sides talking. Millions perished in the first week. The trade networks collapsed. Humans had been the only species trusted by everyone, the only ones who would trade fairly with both the Metherians and their enemies, both the Xinthians and their rivals. Without them, old grudges turned into trade wars, then shooting wars. The humanitarian crises spiraled. Humans had been the first responders, the ones who showed up before anyone else even finished debating whether to help. Now disasters went unanswered. Plagues spread unchecked. Refugees fled to borders that closed in their faces. The Galactic Council tried to fill the gaps. They learned what humanity had known all along. Peacekeeping wasn't glorious. It was dirty, dangerous, thankless work. The Varelians sent troops to the neutral zone. They lasted 11 days before requesting extraction after suffering casualties they'd never imagined. The Xinthians tried to run aid missions. They were appalled by the conditions, the violence, the sheer desperate chaos that humans had waded through without complaint. 6 months after humanity quit, Chancellor Varel's delegation arrived at Earth. They expected military installations, warships, signs of a species preparing for dominance. Instead, they found humans doing what they'd always done: building, farming, creating art, exploring their own star system, getting back to their own lives. Chen met them at the lunar station. Varel's tentacles drooped with exhaustion. "The galaxy is tearing itself apart," he said. "Yes," Chen agreed. We need humanity to come back." "No. We'll give you better terms. Full voting rights, resource priorities, anything you want." Chen shook her head. "You're not listening. We don't want anything from you anymore. We're done being your janitors, your soldiers, your conscience. Billions will die. Billions were already dying. We just died with them for you, and you didn't care." She turned to leave. "You wanted a galaxy where humans knew their place. Congratulations, our place is Earth. Figure out the rest yourselves." As Varel's ship departed, emergency transmissions flooded in from across the galaxy. Wars spreading, civilizations collapsing. Species that had spent millennia judging humanity's crude methods now begging for those same crude methods to save them. Humanity had been the glue holding a fractious galaxy together, and no one had noticed until the glue dissolved. On Earth, Chen watched the stars and felt nothing but relief. Let the galaxy learn what it had lost. Let them understand what humanity had given freely for 2 centuries. Let them cry out for mercy they'd never shown. Maybe in a few generations, after they'd survived their own chaos, the galaxy would be ready to treat humanity as equals. Until then, humanity would wait, and the universe would learn to miss them.